Welcome back to Titan Academy. In this video, we will discuss working with repeat data in Titan Forms version 2.0. We will discuss repeat strips, repeat columns, and repeat containers and how to use them. Here on my sample project, I have added a lookup to an account. I have configured this to pull account information back. We've got a button called Get Contacts, and we're going to run a Salesforce Get to retrieve all of the contacts associated with a selected account. So let's go ahead and set that up. I will go ahead and add onto the page into my second strip. I'll add a form. Let's give it one column, 2 rows. We'll put this right about here. Then we will add some input fields for last name and first name of the located contacts. Let's call this one last name, and then we'll call this one first name. Now let's go ahead and set up a get to retrieve contacts from Salesforce that are related to a selected account. I go into the gear, click on Salesforce. Notice I've already got a get that was created when I created that account lookup. Let's go ahead and create another one. Looking up at the contact object, we are going to execute this on user action. Since we expect there to be multiple matches, let's just go ahead and select up to, I will say up to 1,000 records. That ought to be plenty. In our conditions, we want to filter for contacts with an account ID that equals the account ID of the lookup field. So we will pick lookup account value, and then in our mapping, we want to map first name to the Salesforce field of first name, and last name to the last name field. All right, let's go ahead and apply this and save it. And before we preview it, we want to call that get from behind the Get Contacts button. We'll go ahead and add an action node, Salesforce Action. We will put our get for contacts so that runs whenever that button is clicked. We'll call this Get Related Contacts. Save my project again. And now we preview it, and I will look up an account that I know has contacts. One of my sample accounts, Wayneman Enterprises. We'll select that one. And when I click Get Contacts, the get will run, and it returns the last name and first name to the last name and first name fields. However, look at what it did here. We have multiple values in the last name field, multiple values in the first name field. That's because in my sample Salesforce environment, this account, Wayman Enterprises, has 4 records. We don't want it to display this way. We want the last name and first name of individual contacts to be parsed out into individual fields. So let's go back into our Titan Forms 2.0 builder and see how we can use repeat functionality to accommodate that. So here on my strip, I will toggle to selecting the strip. Here I've got the strip selected. Here's the column. You can also see that in the layer list. First strip selected. Right now the column is selected. Right now there's only one column, so it's a little hard to distinguish, but be sure you got the strip selected. Click on the gear icon, and in the content settings, select the repeat option. Now let's go ahead and save this. And if I refresh my sample page, look up Wayman Enterprises again, apply that, click the Get Contacts to run the get, and now look at how that strip repeats one time for each related record. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good stuff. If you want this to be displayed in a column rather than in a strip, in other words, displaying the information horizontally versus vertically, this is how you would do that. I'll remove the repeat on the strip, and then we'll highlight the column. Column is now highlighted in the later list, and we select repeat column. This is going to work largely the same way, except it'll be displayed differently. Now let's go back and refresh our page again. If we look up our account, Wayman Enterprises, I click Get Contacts. And now you see how this information is displayed left to right, the column repeating as opposed to the strip. Now let's look at the repeat autofit container. Let's go over why you might want to use such a thing. Let's say, for example, that you have an accordion container that you put onto a page. You would use a repeat autofit to have a repeat section inside one of these accordion sections. So this is going to be when you need a repeat inside another type of container. Let's just go ahead and add a repeat autofit container into here. And then I'll add some other fields. I'll call this repeat first. And we'll add another text field and call this repeat last. And then I'm going to go ahead and change my mappings. And in addition to the other two fields, map to this repeat first and repeat last field. And I'll refresh my project here. And let's see how that looks. Let's look up Wayman Enterprises again. So now we see inside this accordion container, we have a repeat container showing the 4 contacts that we got from this account within that section. Finally, let's take a look at variables within the repeats. Here we have a repeat column. We'll go ahead and select that one. In the strip column settings, when the repeat is enabled, click on the gear next to custom variables. Here we can add system, static, or numeric or string variables, and they will apply only to that specific element of the repeat. So let's add a static variable and call it contact ID. From here, we will map the records that are returned, each individual contact ID, into this custom variable, and there will be one addition of this custom variable for each time the strip column repeats. Let's see how that works. So I'll go back into my Salesforce, get contacts in our mapping. We'll map the contact ID to the repeat strip contact ID. In our tools, make sure we have debug mode turned on. Let's refresh this. We'll look up Wayman Enterprises again. And we collapse that and get it out of the way. And on our repeat column, we have 4 records returned as expected. If we go to our debug and search for contact ID, we have 4 occurrences of the contact ID variable. Each of them is holding a unique record ID as associated with the 4 records that were returned. That's it for get repeats, and that's how it's done.